You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast with George Edwards.
Hello and welcome to 1865 Nottingham Forest podcast and our match report following Forest's 3-2 defeat at Old Trafford in their final away game of the 2025-26 season, a fixture that was clouded by Manchester United folklore and VAR by the end. I'm your host George Edwards and I'm joined by Tom Newton for this one. Both of us are speaking just after getting back from Old Trafford. And Tom, there's only one place to begin really. It's an incident that I don't think I need to explain. Everybody would have seen it multiple times, I'm sure. With the second goal that comes just after Forest have got themselves back level. United go from kick-off and score and go 2-1 up, and the game is decided by one goal. That one goal deficit would have got Forest a point. And it blatantly comes off Bryan Mbeumo's arm. I saw it 100 yards away at full speed, first time, before the ball even ended up in the net. I said, that is handball. Surely that's not going to stand. You saw the players, as the goal went in, Cunha looking a bit questionable. Nobody really celebrating inside the stadium because everybody saw what had just happened. VAR, we all seem to think we know what's going to happen when Michael Salisbury goes over to the monitor. And somehow he came away and decided that the goal should stand. I'm absolutely baffled as to how that has happened. There must be some sort of confusion with the rules. But even being objective, there's people that aren't Forest fans, people that are Manchester United fans, ex-referees, everybody saying that is handball, that should have been disallowed. How have we got to a situation where that goal is allowed to stand?
It's an unbelievable decision. And just after it happened, I'm glad nothing was riding on this game for us, because imagine if that was the difference between us staying up and going down. It's anybody who's played football will know how the ball has landed. It's obviously gained an advantage to Man United with Cunha's obviously scoring after Mbeumo his hands out. There's no two ways about it. Everybody's like looking around thinking, as soon as you come to the screen, you think, oh, he's going to disallow this. Then he's come to some weird conclusion. It's a goal to Man United. Whether we had a bet on it, I do not know. But the thing is, though, with it, we was coming back from Manchester, and I said to my mate Matt in the car, I said, just have a look when the first rules were published, and it's 1863, so obviously 163 years ago, if my maths are correct. And I'm like looking at it and thinking, what's happened is over the years, it's just been rule added on rule added on rule. So over time, there's been a completely different. If you ask one person, he might have a different interpretation of the rules. And what needs to happen now? We're in 2026. Just start again. Just update the rule book, because that's from like that. Obviously, over 150 years ago, they need to just like say, you know, what's black and white, what it is, and obviously. But like I said earlier, imagine if that was riding on that. That could be the difference in a few £100 million for staying in the Premier League and going to the Championship. It's an unbelievable unbelievable decision. But if you look at the game, Man U probably shaded it on the chances alone. They should have like bagged more than they did. But it was like it was like very much like a basketball match, wasn't it?
Turned out to be with the way they scored that goal.
Yeah, exactly. And it's turned out that it's been ruined by a refereeing decision, and the neutral watching the match on Sky or whatever, like thinking that's been ruined, because what should have been celebrated is two teams. There's a dead rubber actually going for it. Then neither of them looked like they were on the beach, and it's been ruined by like the incompetence of the referee. And you're going to get some crap apologies tomorrow saying, "Oh, it should have been like disallowed," but it's not good enough, is it? No. I mean, with all the cameras and all the technology and everything, and in the best league in the world, we're still having weird decisions like this.
And I think Salisbury's got confused that it was at Old Trafford, the football stadium, and not Old Trafford, the cricket stadium that's, half a mile away, because it's just, I can't understand it. And I think you're right. I think maybe him going over there, rather than objectively going over to the monitor and thinking, is this handball, yes or no? There's got to be something in his brain going, what's this rule saying? What's that rule saying? The way he comes out and explains it and says it's handball, but it's unintentional or something like that, rather than just going to the screen and saying, is it handball? Yes, it leads to a goal. It cannot stand, which is what 99% of people inside the stadium, the VAR, obviously a qualified referee telling him that, and he's gone there and thought something else. I just can't fathom the fact that the ball is trapped there. Like you say, if his hand wasn't there, if his hand was up here and the ball came in, the ball would have hit his hip and gone the other way, gone to a Forest player. Forest would have cleared it. So there is no way that intervention, whether it hits his hip or not first, that intervention does not directly lead to a goal scoring situation. And that must be in a rule book somewhere for that to be disallowed. But you take rules out of it and you just look at that and you say, like, you can look at it and say, oh, it's a penalty or not, or it's soft. It's definitive. It's black and white. It has led to a goal, and that should not have stood. And it'd be interesting to hear, I assume, you'd hope that Forest would ask, and they've released the audio of what happened in that situation. Because how can a referee who can hear the guy in his ear saying, this is handball, this should be disallowed, this is what you're seeing, go there and say something completely different, Tom? It'd be interesting to hear what was said in that moment.
Yeah, and I don't know if the viewers at home watching it on Sky got like obviously the transcript of what actually happened with his decision, because in the stadium, obviously you're waiting for everybody to shut up, and he says
It's a goal,
after review it's a goal, and there was no explanation, and there's no like big screens at Man U, is there? So there's no like obviously transcript of like 5 minutes after or whatever saying why they've explained the decision. And even the Archbishop of Manchester, Gary Neville, when you look back on the highlights, he's staggered by that decision. And he bleeds Man United, doesn't he? It's an unbelievable decision. And yeah, just so thankful that we got the job done last week, because if we had to go to like obviously City Ground next week against Bournemouth, we'd be in a world of shit if that was that decision was the difference between us staying in the Premier League and not. So and it just ruined what should be celebrated as a really good game of football, because I was quite relaxed going to it. I thought there's nothing riding on it, let's enjoy it for what it is. Man U played really well. Bruno Fernandes, I know he's a whinging rat bag, but he's a brilliant footballer. And Anderson played well today. Gibbs-White played today, and it should be celebrated. That, the other week when Bayern Munich played PSG, and there was two teams what went for it, and everybody loved it. There's no handbrake on, and it was like, enjoy it for all it is. But no, we've got to talk about the refereeing decision, and it's just like, it doesn't feel right, does it?
Yeah. And you think you might have seen it as sort of Everton-style statement from Forest if something was riding on it. But it's good that by the end as well, I think a lot of people in the away end almost forgot about that goal, treated it like Forest had got a point, because that's what we got on the pitch. If you sort of counteract two goals that should have been legal. And there was a lot of positivity around that. So that's probably a positive sign. And the fact we've seen the club, even on their social media channels, sort of go, I think they posted Vítor Pereira's interview, and it was Vítor Pereira on today's fixture, not today's defeat. There's no mention of the fact Forest have lost, really, because of the injustice that they feel. But let's get on to the game and move on from whinging. Going into the game, there was 3 changes from the home draw at Newcastle. It saw Cunha back and a 1-1 drop out, Hutchinson, Gibbs-White and Wood come in. No surprise really there, Tom. I think a lot of us thought Pereira would maybe go as strong as he could. That's probably what he did. He changed away from the back 3 that didn't work at Newcastle, and he ditched within 20 minutes of that game. So Pereira has pretty much gone with what you'd thought. Maybe a 1-1 was maybe the only one because of his goals at Chelsea and his starts, but about what you're expecting, Tom, from the start.
Yeah, pretty much. And Morato in the last couple of months, he's been fine, hasn't he? He really has. And we'll talk about it in a bit, but he got a goal which was nice for him, kind of thing. And I thought Man U were quicker out the traps than us. I think we were a bit indecisive with our passing. I think Hutchinson, not looking to dig him out or anything like that, but I think some of his decision making was a bit off today. A bit of a sluggish start, wasn't it? In 5 minutes in, Nico Williams doesn't really deal with it. And look, it's at the end of the day, it was a dead rubber. Nico Williams been absolutely fantastic. He just was a bit in, I wouldn't say no man's land. He probably didn't get a call from Sales or anybody, but only thought, well, I don't know where I am. I'm just going to head it up the pitch. And obviously it went to Luke Shaw, and Nico Williams didn't come out to him. Milenkovic like ambles to him, and obviously his control, it's not the greatest control, is it? And he's arrogant in Sales' left corner, and you think, oh, here we go, we're going to get hurt today. Because in the last couple of years, we've scored the first goal, haven't we, with Bolly in a 1 year, 2 years ago, whatever it was, and Milenkovic last season. So, you think it is what it is. It's like, I think a lot with the season we've had, it was just a relief going to a game and actually try and enjoy what it was, because that away crowd today, it was pretty decent, wasn't it? We're quite loud. It was like muted around Old Trafford with the home crowd, but yeah, it was decent today.
It wasn't quite Palace away, was it, on that last game of the season?
No,
but, it was certainly a more relaxed atmosphere. And I want to just touch on that goal, because it comes from possession on the right hand side that comes from a long ball. I think it was a goal kick or a free kick or something that Morato let drop, and it's something I've noticed a lot. Murillo not as such, but Morato and Milenkovic particularly. The amount of times they let the ball drop is ludicrous, and there wasn't that much pressure. But the ball drops, then Morato's got his back to goal. He's got to hoof it up in the air. It drops to Fernandes and Diallo on the right side, and then they sort of get it in, cleared away, get it in. But it's that lapse of defending that I think you put in our group chat that you weren't as worried about our lapse in defending. And obviously, I think we've now conceded 7 goals in our last sort of 3 or 4 games or something like that.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the second goal being VAR, the third goal being on a counter attack. But are you worried about some defensive signs you're seeing here, or is it just the season catching up with Forest and the fatigue?
Yeah.
And it's a good finish from Shaw as well, isn't it? Taking
Yeah, it
very
is.
well.
I think it's just, I think with the season we've had, 4 managers. I mean, let's not forget, Man U probably look brighter than us. They've been knocked out of the 2 domestic cup competitions very early by Grimsby, and I can't remember who knocked them out in the FA Cup now. But they haven't had Europe this season, so obviously they're going to be a lot fresher than us. Obviously, we've had injuries: Gibbs-White, Murillo, Sangari, Hudson-Odoi. So obviously we've had to rotate. So I just think it's fatigue. I'm not overly worried because only a month ago we got 3-0 at Spurs away, didn't we? 5-0 at Sunderland. We've been pretty solid, haven't we? Compared with what it was like earlier in the season under Ange and under Dyche, where, like I said, I wouldn't say the players obviously down tools, but I don't think they were overly infused by playing under Sean Dyche and his tactics. So I just think it's just the season. So I'm not overly worried. I said in our group chat, if you look over the last month, we've done all right defensively, and João Pedro, when he scored for Chelsea, was an absolute worldie, was it? And sometimes you just kind of I'll just hold your hands up and say that was a world class goal. And then the one last week, Harvey Barnes, it was just like through the middle, wasn't it? So no, I'm not overly concerned because I just think it's a matter of the players have played a lot of games. Like Milenkovic, he's hardly missed a game this season, has he? So I think he's just ready for the season to wrap up so he can put his feet up for a bit. So yeah, like I said, I'm not overly concerned with our defensive, so-called frailties at the moment.
And from the goal that Forest conceded, United looked quite confident that they set off Forest quite a bit. They were trying to invite them onto us and hit us on the break. And I was surprised they only actually scored 1 goal in the end from situations like that. I mean, I want to know what you think about the setup in midfield, because I thought midfield was somewhere Forest struggled. I thought Dominguez and Anderson themselves had good games. But the amount of times they got the ball from the defender's turn and didn't have Jesus or Gibbs-White in the middle, I thought Gibbs-White was wasted out wide, to be honest. And I think he's done well in games against Sunderland when it's had more space. But I really thought today we missed returning Morgan Gibbs-White, should we say. We didn't say that at the start. Good to have him back in the starting lineup. But I thought we really missed him in the middle, going to getting the ball off Dominguez, off Anderson, because every time they had to just look out wide. They had Hutchinson as a sort of outlet, but he kept sort of falling over the ball, losing it, being quite weak. And Gibbs-White wasn't on the other side. I just really thought we could have done with Gibbs-White in midfield, along with Dominguez and Anderson, to go through midfield, because United were and Forest just weren't.
Yeah, I think Anderson looks more comfortable when Sangari is there because obviously he can push on and obviously find Gibbs-White. But when he's playing a bit defensively and with Dominguez, even though I thought Anderson did okay today, he got him into really good pockets of space and obviously used the ball quite well. But yeah, I think they nullified Gibbs-White quite well. It was Diego Dallo, wasn't it, on that side? But then when we made the changes with Awoniyi, I thought Awoniyi played better than Wood today.
Yeah.
Because he just gave you that bit of pace. I mean, there was a couple of times where Wood got away, but obviously it's 35 this year, isn't it?
But there was a chance at the end. I don't know if you remember, it came to one year and he had a touch and a shot towards goal and he couldn't quite turn and get a shot away. And I said to Grandad, you'd have wanted Wood in that situation. So that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, I think when they brought Bakouan and McAtee, I think McAtee with a pre-season and under Pereira, I think we're probably going to see the best of McAtee because obviously he's had a bitty season with obviously how many managers, etc. But yeah, as soon as they come on, I thought Gibbs-White, and we'll talk about it in a bit, but it's a lovely goal, isn't it? So, I just thought, the midfield, a bit like the Aston Villa game in the Europa League semi-final, that Dominguez and Anderson suffered a bit in there because of obviously how they set up and how Villa set up. So, but yeah, I'm not too upset because of obviously the amount of games what they've been playing at the moment.
And I just didn't think it worked up front, as you mentioned, either, because Wood and Jesus was, I think, the most central he ever has been in this position. He's almost, I know he's sort of played with Wood, but he's always dropped deep or came off the left a little bit. Whereas today it was very much a front two, I felt. And I felt the pair of them just got in each other's way a little bit. And Wood wasn't quite doing his own thing because Jesus was often there. A bit of uncertainty. And they've worked quite well, haven't they, in this new setup, Jesus and Wood bouncing off each other. But maybe because we couldn't get through midfield, get to Jesus, it did feel a bit like they were on top of each other almost, didn't it?
Yeah, I think with obviously Martinez is a bit of the ball playing centre half, so he like went up towards Jesus, and then Maguire looked after Wood, and I think they've like complemented each other pretty well. So when the ball did come into the final third, they just didn't have the tools to do what they wanted to do, and yeah, I think Jesus just he had moments in the game, but we didn't see enough of him, and we didn't see enough of him in the first half, and didn't see much of Gibbs-White, did we? And Wood was like trying to obviously occupy the two in some aspects, but even he was getting a bit frustrated. And then obviously Hutchinson's decision making. So as an attack, we didn't really make many attacking threats, did we, in the first half? Because I think they nullified it quite well. But once we got Gibbs-White on the ball more in the second half, obviously we started creating more chances.
Yeah, there's a couple of chances that we'll talk about in the first half that Forest did fashion. The firstly, 21 minutes, Hutchinson had a bit of space. And as we mentioned, he was a bit of an outlet throughout the game, but he often didn't take his man on or got tackled or got bodied out of it or misplaced the ball. But there was once where he got the ball. He was inside a lot more infield than he had been. And he found Gibbs-White with a bit of space into the box, takes a touch. But I think he's onto his left foot. Lomans does well to capture him. And I think I've seen it back and there's a hint of offside on that one as well. So if it had scored, I'm not sure if that would have stood. United then went up the other end and had a chance. Cunha played it through to Mbeumo, went around Matt Sells and ought to have done a lot better. It's a tight angle. But once he rounded the keeper as a striker on his left foot as well, he should have done better. Hit the outside of the post. And then Forest had a chance on 33 minutes. It was a free kick wide on the left. It all happened very quickly, really, wasn't it? It was Anderson who delivered it. Dominguez got there at the near post, flicked it, but got just a bit too much on it. Not like his one at West Ham where he looped it over into the far post. He just got a bit too much on it. And it went over the bar. Tom, that attacking play, what did you make of it? And as you mentioned, it was a very good game for the neutral if you were watching on TV.
Yeah, I thought after like the half-hour mark, Forest were trying to make some inroads, and obviously with because he scored a similar goal, didn't he, at Midtjylland, if you remember? That was a looping header. So yeah, like you say, you just got a bit too much on it, and I thought Forest was settling down pretty well. To be honest, it was a bit of like I said, a basketball game, and yeah, it was just like watching it, and it's like when you like can watch the game and enjoy it for what it actually is, because you think, oh, I mean, there was a bit of like financial incentive if we obviously won the game. It's a few million quid, isn't it, of positional prize money? But yeah, I kind of, because obviously we got safe last week, there was no like stress element in it, and you thought, well, Forest would always get a chance today. I always thought that with what we had on the pitch, we always created something. And like I says, after half an hour, we started making some inroads, but yeah, we just didn't threaten Lemon's goal, did we? So and then obviously they went to the other end, hit the post with, what was it, Mbeumo or Cunha? So yeah, I think yeah, you knew at half time, as soon as Pereira got him in, it'd be a bit of better showing, and we'll obviously talk about it in a minute. But yeah, 1-0, I thought it was a fair scoreline. I thought Man U shaded it.
Yeah, as Tom said at half time, it was Man United 1, Forest 0.
The 1865 Match Report.
Hello, welcome back to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast, and our match report on the 3-2 defeat at Old Trafford. We're going to move on to the second half now, and it was quite a similar start to the first half from Forest, really, pretty lethargic, but with one of their first attacks, they got a corner, and they got the goal that saw them equalise. It felt, as you mentioned just before the break, Tom, that they've been building in the game, getting a bit more comfortable after the first 20 minutes where they were rocked, and just before halftime, you felt that they might get forward and get a chance. And second half, they got it. It was a corner played short to Anderson, just brilliantly to wriggle away from Maynard. You see so often corners are taken short, and I actually really can't stand short corners normally. I think they're one of my least favourite things in football, because you've got your defenders forward. Why would you not just get it in the box? And so often from them situations, somebody gets a bit of pressure and they rush and panic and cross it and it gets blocked, or they pass it back to the guy who took the corner and it's offside and it goes to nothing. But Anderson, the clever footballer that he is, he saw it's Hamad Diallo, clever little turn, shrugged him off the ball, sends a wicked, absolutely awesome ball in, goal side of everybody. Morato is goal side of everybody as well, and he's got the simplest of tasks: just power it home, run away towards the Forest fans. I was on the second row, right in front of him, so I was leaping there, and I was seeing on TV if anybody was watching on Sky, as the Maradona sent to the group chat. But yeah, really good moment, Tom, and we'll get on to the thing that clouded it in a few seconds. But nice for Forest to be scoring from set pieces as well.
Yeah, you said about the short corners a few weeks ago when we played for Sunderland on that Friday night, didn't we score about 3 goals from short corners?
Yeah.
So yeah, it can work, but yeah, for our older listeners, and I think he was very underrated as a player, but that was Beckham-esque. That cross from Anderson, right on the money. Morato cannot miss, and it's a brilliant ball in. Absolutely, it's like you can't defend it. It's that good, and I sincerely hope Anderson is a Forest player next season. Sadly, if you read the media reports, it's looking less likely by each day. But he's been an absolute phenomenal player, hasn't he, the last 2 years, and absolutely brilliant ball. And Morato scores his first goal for us, and obviously, we've re-edited the Danilo chant and obviously turn it into Morato. But with all his obviously the critics with Morato this season, etc., he's in the last couple of months, since Pereira's come in, he's pretty solid.
Yeah.
There's not been many moments, has there, where he obviously has been at fault. Probably he might have done a bit better when Harvey Barnes scored last week, but we got a point out of it, and which made us safe. But yeah, I thought he's done okay. I would have thought that Vítor Cunha would have come and played, but yeah, Morato had another solid game again today, didn't he?
Yeah, I think for me, Cunha's still ahead, but the Morato has realised that he's Morato, and he's not trying to do Murillo things or things that he can't because he's Brazilian or something like that. He's just realised his skill set, his strength. He plays off Milenkovic a lot better, and he sticks to what he's good at. And I think that's what's really good from Pereira, maybe trying to not get him to do the same things Murillo could do, because he's never going to do that, and that's where he plays himself into trouble. Now, as we mentioned, I mean, less than 2 minutes later, Man United had scored that goal, and we've done all the talking we need to do on that. But how much of a mental drag would it have been to the players to build in the game, work so hard to get back into the game that they probably deserved, and then see that injustice just seconds after going behind it? It's got to have an effect on them, because after that, really, all of our momentum was shot, wasn't
it? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we since we come out for the second half, we looked the better side. I thought we was like getting into the final third, a lot more passing through the lines, etc., and getting Gibbs-White on the ball. And yeah, it's one of those where you play FIFA, isn't it? You score a goal, then whatever you do, the other team scored within like a minute of you scoring. But like you said earlier, you knew something wasn't quite right. I know it was at the Stretford end of the ground, because of how the ball.
Could you see it from? I mean, I had a good I saw straight away handball. I said it.
Yeah, I was probably like 3/4 of the way up, and you could see. I'm not saying I'm like a football expert, but when you've been to a lot of games and you know how players position themselves, and you thought something's not quite right here. It's either flicked up and obviously his arms out. You can see his arms out, and obviously how the ball was bounced. You think, well, he's some kind of gained an advantage, and you think when they scored, oh bloody hell! Then obviously somebody got it up on the mobile, because they can get Sky Go, because the Wi-Fi is pretty decent in Old Trafford. And I thought, well, we're going to disallow it. He's obviously had a clear advantage in Mbeumo, and obviously control the ball and give it to Cunha. And even Old Trafford, like, oh, it's muted. He's going to disallow this. He comes to the VAR screen. He's looking at it and thinking, well, it took forever, didn't it? And then obviously he did the motion with his hands, because of obviously the review conclusion. And there was no conclusion apart from saying VAR review, goal is given.
But from the goal, then it did really kill Forest flow and momentum, I thought, and it's going to with going behind in that way. Pereira put Bakro, Sangare on for Dominguez, Wood, and Hutchinson. I thought Dominguez had a decent game, to be fair. Sangare came on and looked okay, but maybe a little bit lethargic, and you could tell he'd not had minutes in a while. He lost the ball a little bit and looked a little bit away with the fairies. And Man United,
having said that, the tackle when they were on the counter attack. When it was a brilliant tackle, that was at Stretford end. Sorry for putting in there, but
no, that's okay.
But I think he just needed some minutes in the legs.
That's it.
Obviously, it's just been it's no surprise, obviously, because he's a sore up for the Ivory Coast side, but he's been picked for the World Cup squad for them, hasn't he? So he needed minutes in the legs, and hopefully, if he has a good week in training, he starts next week.
Yeah. So those changes, I mean, didn't really have much impact. Maybe a one you did, as you mentioned, it was more of a presence up front because Wood and Jesus were pretty anonymous. But I think they got the third goal was coming pretty much from them. Forest had a few flurries forward and a few shots towards goal, but never really troubled Lamont. And then about 20 minutes after United got the second, they got the third. It was a counter attack, and as I mentioned, it was the counter attacking goal that looked like it was going to come for the whole game. Cunha brings it forward, works it out to Fernandez on the right, and then his ball in, evades all the Forest defenders, and then Mbeumo taps it in. I think we should give a mention to Matt Sells before we sort of come on to the Forest goal as well, because there's a few really good saves, particularly on Joshua Zirkzee, that did really well to keep out. And at one point in the game, I said to Grandad about his distribution and the fact that Nico had it, Williams had it on the right-hand side, looked inside, Ortega would have been there saying, give me the ball, and Sells is more reluctant, obviously because he's not that type of goalkeeper. But he really redeemed himself with those saves, Tom, and has put a fight in to be our number one next season, and with Ortega sort of performances as well.
Yeah, if Sells does go and Ortega comes in, I don't think everybody will turn the noses up at that, because we have got two decent keepers there. But Ortega, coming from Man City, he would want to be number one, and obviously there's no guarantees that he's going to get it here. But Sells has been fine this season, hasn't he? Well, especially since Pereira's come in.
Yeah, not as phenomenal as he was last season, but still doing the job. And then we'll come on to the Forest sort of consolation goal, gave him a bit of hope by the end. It was 12 minutes to play. A brilliant ball from Anderson. He's sort of hesitating there, stood there in midfield, waiting for some runners, and then I've seen a movement, bang, into the box, straight to Morgan Gibbs-White's feet. It's an excellent turn and finish from Gibbs-White. First time, inside of the left foot, about 15 yards out from goal. First time, right into the corner. It's an awesome finish from him. It's a proof, I think, for him, for Forest. The England squad is being chosen on Friday. And I think it was really big of Vítor Pereira to say, right, you're fit, you've got the armband, you're going to Old Trafford, your boyhood team. He's now scored 4 goals against Manchester United, his boyhood club, to show, actually, Thomas, I am fit and I'm here for you to choose. He's done that with a goal. I mean, Anderson's certain to pretty much start, I think, with his performances. 2 assists for him on the day. He was superb. The pair of them, Tom, we're lucky to have them both. And I certainly think Morgan will be here next season. I think there's more of a chance of Elliott now than before, because of his mum passing away. And I think the club have really got behind him, and he might just think, I just need this one more year of solidity because of his unfortunate circumstances personally, because everybody's came behind him. And actually, I think that situation has given the whole team an extra bit of motivation, which has been really lovely to see. But how lucky we're to have these 2 brilliant, awesome players who are by far the 2 best players I've ever seen play for Forest.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think we are obviously, for Elliot Anderson, we've only known in the last month that his mum sadly was ill and sadly passed away. But we don't know how long. For a young kid, we don't know how, I don't want to go through, it's a private matter, but you don't know how long the diagnosis was that. You don't know how long back. It might have gone last season. And for Elliot Anderson to put on a Forest shirt and play as he has, for a young kid, he's going out on the world stage or the etc. week in, week out, putting obviously 100% effort in. It's phenomenal for a young lad, and he is it's a privilege to have him at Nottingham Forest. He's really good player, good character, and like he says, it'd be nice for him to say, look, I'm in the World Cup squad, one more year at Forest. But obviously, if it's 100 million, 120 million, we can't turn that money down, sadly. But it would be brilliant if we could just keep him for one more season and say, thanks, Elliot, for what you've done. Go and have your big move kind of thing. But yeah, for what he's gone through in the last year or whatever he's had to deal with, it just goes down to what a good upbringing, humble guy. And like I said, you just want to give him a big hug, don't you? Because of obviously what he's given and what he's gone through. I mean, I can't imagine what he's gone through the last few months. Unbelievable guy, unbelievable. Yeah. And going back to Morgan, he has to be on that plane for the World Cup. He has to be. I mean, it's not even being biased anymore. The stats don't lie. And
he's been nominated for Premier League Player of the Season.
Yeah, 17 goals in all competitions. His stats are better than Phil Foden, but you just know Phil Foden's going around that. But what has Phil Foden given England last couple of years? He's always struggled. Yeah, and obviously Cole Palmer. I mean, he did score in the final 2 years ago, didn't he, against Spain? And he is a phenomenal player, and I was watching some of the bits on Sky Sports. He is a funny guy with his answers and things like that. Like he says, he didn't like the cinema because the TV screen's too big and the snacks too expensive for all the money he's on. So, he just hasn't done it this season. I thought he looked a shell of himself when we played Chelsea a couple of weeks ago. But Morgan has Morgan's. It's not just his goals, his assists, it's how he can influence a game.
Yeah.
He never shies away from the ball. He always wants the ball. If obviously you got to dig in, and obviously it's a battle in the trenches, Morgan's there. Morgan's like, you want him on your side, and Thomas Tuchel has to.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst thing about it is if he's not on that plane, Morgan might think
I've got to leave Forest, and that's the unfortunate thing, isn't it? And I tell you what, if he's not in the England squad, it really does prove why England keeps shortcoming, because they keep choosing players from the big teams who have performed in last year rather than choosing players that are in form now to go and win now. And I could see Morgan doing that Cole Palmer role this season. You think of him coming off the bench, he's got something to prove, and he really could drag England over the line. And just quickly before we finish, I'm just going to talk about the full-time scenes, because even though Forest lost, it didn't feel like that at the end. Vítor Pereira was there at the end, and the players island had his moment, applauding the fans, saying thank you, giving his recognition. And it's came out in the last week that Forest are looking to keep him beyond this season, which was a surprise, maybe given Marco Silva's interest and availability in the summer. But I think losing Nuno showed that upheaval when we don't need it is not what we should do at this club. So it really felt like Pereira's moment at the end with the fans to say thank you for this season, for the away support you've given us, and let's go again next year.
Yeah, exactly. We just need to prepare well for next season, not have the same summer what we had last year. And I did say Pereira, I had a funny feeling Pereira may leave because of obviously Silva's available. But at the end of the day, he's done his remit. He's kept us up quite comfortably with 2 games to spare kind of thing. And we just need to plan now. We don't need wholesale changes. We haven't got Europe next season. And obviously, just prepare well for it, and then, like I said, he's done really well, hasn't he? The coaches have been coaching the players really well. They're like happy that they've been there, that influence and everything. And that input has obviously dragged us away from danger. And like I said, safe with 2 games to go. So Forest hierarchy, need to get recruitment right, recruit well, not about like they did last season kind of thing and have a load of problems, and obviously still ill prepared on like day one kind of thing. Need to hit the ground running, and if we do that, we'll be fine next season, because I don't want to be a footballing snob, but the teams that are coming up from the Championship, they might surprise me, and if they surprise me, I hold my hands up and say got it wrong. But I'm looking for around about 10th position, probably knock on the door for you, have a decent run in one of the domestic cup competitions, and hopefully just push the club forward. But we don't need a season what we've had this season, because like I said, we're safe. We've had a good spell in Europe, but it's been crap, hasn't it, in terms of the turmoil and 4 managers. But at the end of the day, Vítor's got the job done, and we're a Premier League club next season. That's what it's all about.
And as we've been saying, it was a very even game, and it proves that, when everything's even, Forest are by far a very good competitive Premier League side. And hopefully, as you mentioned, McAtee might do well. And Edu maybe doesn't look as stupid now as he did earlier, because Vítor Pereira has really fostered the best out of some of his signings. Thank you for joining me, Tom, and thank you for listening as well. If you enjoyed the podcast, you can find where to listen and the social media at the words 1865.football. We'll be back with the Yatesy Espresso Bar and with the final report of the season after the Bournemouth game. Thanks as ever for your support, and come on, you Reds.
You've been listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast. If you liked what you hear, please subscribe and leave us a review. It helps other listeners find our content.